Hello, y'all. First and foremost, I know this video was supposed to go up yesterday. However, I am under the weather. I'm still a little bit under the weather, but I'm feeling a little bit better. And I just wanted to take some energy to put this video out for you all. Again, if you get any value from this video, if you could please give it a like. I would appreciate if you subscribe as well. And then give me a comment about the video. If there's other things you would like to see, if there's questions that you might have, and always join the Facebook group, which is Money Time. That link is going to be in the description box as well as the comments, because I post a lot of information in there free of charge. You will have business plans, pitch decks, different inspirational books in there. We actually have a packet on wholesaling or drop shipping if you're interested in that as well. So definitely come on over to Facebook as well. Now into this grant. The deadline is January 14th, which is why I wanted to get on and get this one out there, even though I'm a little sick. This grant is for for-profits and nonprofits to collaborate for marketing efforts. How this works. Let's say you're a marketing individual, you're a marketing firm, or you work for a marketing company, and there's a nonprofit that you've always wanted to partner with, or there's a nonprofit that you're interested in. However, their budget just didn't allow for you all to work together. Here, you can work together because this grant is for up to $50,000, and 5% of that can be a salary to you. So that's $5,000 that you will be able to take away. Plus, you'll be serving a good cause within the community. Now, let's say you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're a nonprofit and you're interested in getting some marketing for your company and you just don't have it in your budget to do that. Find you a marketing firm to partner with, or somebody that you know in the community. And here's the bonus. It can be an employee. So when I read that, I was like, wow. So somebody that's currently working for a nonprofit, if they're in the marketing department, or it could be an employee that has a side job in marketing, they can apply for this grant to then assist the company that they're working for to get up to $50,000. I've went through the application. I think it is fairly easy and straightforward. They're giving out up to 30 of these grants. And the deadline is January 14th, and they're making the decisions by the end of February. So this isn't one of those like the other grant where I think it was every 6 months. So you potentially have to wait 6+ months to know if you got the $50,000. This one is like, no, we want to make sure that the information is out there. You can use this for all types of marketing. So it could be websites, it could be billboards, it could be flyers. But one of the things that you must do, it has to have a print component. So it can't just be a video. It can't just be a website. So you would need to have something in print that's part of the budget. And that's one of the key components to this application as well. You have to have a budget, and you have to have previous experience of some sort. It doesn't say that it has to be professional per se. They just want to see examples of your previous work. So I think this is a beautiful thing, because I know nonprofits and for-profits tend to want to collaborate, but sometimes the money just doesn't allow it. And this particular organization is saying, no, we want you all to be able to collaborate. And guess what? We're going to fund it. So you already know what I'm about to do. I'm about to share my screen. We're going to go through some of the FAQs because I do think that's important. We're going to go through the application, which is super short and to the point. And then after that, you can go ahead and apply for this awesome opportunity. So here we go. Let's get the screen share going. Okay, so let me, because I don't want to go directly to the application just yet. I want to get back to their FAQ session. So let me do that fairly quickly. So I'm going to have to stop sharing and reshare. Well, it looks like let me just type it back in because that's the only way it's gonna allow me to show you the FAQ, which is odd. Let me do that really quickly. All right. So I have it up. Let me share my screen one more time. Hopefully this works. Okay, we made it. So here are the FAQs, which I think is important. Some of them to look at. So it talks about what can the grant money be used for? It can only be used to complete the project you have proposed and for specific components you have outlined in your budget. So your budget is going to have to be line for line. Okay. You can't just say we need $1,000 for marketing. You have to break it completely down, meaning that you need $1,000, but let's say $1,000 is just for flyers. So you got to break it down even further. So maybe it's $250 for somebody to design it. It's $250 for somebody to print it. It's $250 for somebody to mail everything out, the envelopes, etc. And maybe there's an additional $250 to then respond to inquiries that come back from the marketing efforts. So it literally has to be line by line what they're looking for. And then also they pay you afterwards. So you're going to have to send them an invoice and they're going to have to see receipts. So this isn't like some grants where they just give you a lump sum. That's not going to happen. They're going to want to make sure that what you're asking for, you actually need. And they want to make sure that it's actually being used for what you said it was going to be used for. So keep that in mind too. So it's going to be some out-of-pocket expenses up front, but the quicker you turn in your invoice, the quicker you will get your funds from Sappy. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you all the website. It's sappy.com. And then you're going to look for Ideas That Matter, that application on that particular homepage. What can the grant money be used for? I think that's important. It cannot be used for overhead. Indirect costs, it can be used for travel, hardware, fiscal sponsor fees, or overhead elements such as computer, staff salaries, accounting costs, or rent. It literally can only be used for the marketing project that you're going to be providing for a nonprofit organization. Look at this one. Production costs can be included in the budget proposal. So photography, distribution, and then this is where I talked about you get 10% of your budget for a design honorarium. Okay, so that will go directly to whomever is doing the project. So it could be a firm or an individual. You can take up to 10%. And the reason I said $5,000 is because that's if you're requesting the $50,000. Of course, if you're not requesting the $50,000, it will be less than that amount. And we talked about how many grants are going to be awarded, which is 10 to 30. Here's something you need to think about right here. You cannot get the money and take as long as you want for this project. You have a maximum of 6 months. So if you do some work past 6 months, they're not going to pay you for it because their goal is to make sure that this project is completed timely. So make sure before you even submit this application that you've had a conversation with the nonprofit, you all have come up with a blueprint, an outline. So as soon as the money comes through the door, you can hit the ground running. So keep that in mind. It cannot be longer than 6 months. Excuse me, y'all, you know I'm sick. So we're going to work through this though. Okay, what are the requirements for the nonprofit? The organization must be an IRS or Canadian equivalent recognized 501c3 organization. So this is for the US as well as Canada. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, just because you have incorporated as a nonprofit organization does not mean that you have tax exempt status. That status is determined by the IRS, and you would either need to do the short form or the long form in order to get that status. And I know there's sometimes confusion where individuals will incorporate and they'll say, I'm a nonprofit, but not understanding that you didn't take the next step for the IRS to recognize you as a tax exempt organization. So if you haven't done that, unfortunately, this grant will not be for you. However, in one of the FAQs, which I did peruse all of them, if you're in the process of getting your 501c3 and you have it by the time they are ready, so by the end of February, if you have your tax exempt status, you can be eligible for this grant. So I would apply. If you've already attempted to get your 501c3 and you're just in the waiting phase, I would apply and know that, you'll just have to bow out if you don't have your status. But why pass up on this particular opportunity if you're going to end up with your status at the end of February? It does not have to come from an individual, which we discussed. It can come from a group of designers, firm, agency, in-house corporate design department, essentially anybody that does design. It can come from that person or group. This is the one I told you all about that I thought was amazing. If the designer is a paid employee of the nonprofit organization, can the designer still submit? Yes. SAPI welcomes applications from designers actively working in the nonprofit community. That's huge. So if you're at a nonprofit and you're doing marketing and you're like, have all these great ideas for the organization, apply for this grant, have a conversation with whoever makes the final decisions, the executive decisions in that organization, but say, look, here's a project. They're willing to give me this honorarium. Plus we get marketing, a new website, whatever it is that you all need. I don't see why somebody would say no to that, but they might, but it's worth a try. Application process. So they are going to ask for resumes, but you can submit the resumes as a collective, right? So they say members of a team can compile resumes into one document. So it doesn't have to be, 5 different resumes. It can be a collective of experiences and why they should give you all these funds, i.e., do you have the experience to perform what you are requesting and what you're saying that you're going to do inside of your budget? I think, let's see. Here's one to think about. Should I include the cost of paper in the estimate? Yes. Remember when I said earlier, you can't just say marketing, you have to break it all the way down, right? Even if you're doing a logo, if you're going to have one person sketch it, one person digitize it, one person, even if you're going to get trademark, that could be something that's happening as well. That can be a part of this $50,000 that you're requesting. But remember, if it's not in the budget and you send an invoice, they are not going to pay for it. So make sure that when you're sitting with the team and you're putting this budget together, you're breaking it apart, piece by piece, step by step, not just the final product, the steps to get to that product. Because even if you're doing a website, who's drafting the terms and conditions? Who's drafting the policy, the privacy policy? Okay, who's doing the artwork? Who's doing the About Us section? Who's designing the website? It could be multiple people to get to this one end product. And that budget needs to break it down for each individual and how much that is going to cost. Otherwise, you will likely not get approved for this grant because they want it line item by line item. Literally, they want to know where every penny of their money is going. So here, it said you can request swatch books and printed samples of your project by going to their website. I guess that's once you get approved and then you submit everything, you can then request it, because they're definitely going to share your work, because they want to let people know, like, this is the awesome stuff that we're funding inside of the community. So you can definitely reach out to them for that. And then we've already talked about, you'll be notified by the end of February. January 14th, so 6 days is the deadline. But like I said, application, super easy. And we're actually going to start the application now and just skim through it fairly quickly. Again, if you have any questions, put it in the comments. If up to this point you got some good information, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe if you can. All right. So for your application, the category is the 2021 Ideas That Matter. And then I created a project title, Money Time in Collaboration with Your Time Incorporated. Next, just contact information for the designer, not the nonprofit. So your name, firm, company. If you're the nonprofit, then obviously who you want to work with, address, city, state, zip code, email address. If there's a team, you're going to put their information in here. So their title, email address, etc. Then you're going to go to the next page. And I'm only doing it from the top, because if I do it at the bottom, they're going to make me complete all of this. And I don't think that's necessary. Remember, I'm sick. Okay. Nonprofit contact information. So their name, contact, address, same thing. Their website, if they have one. If they don't have one, you definitely need to put that in the budget, that you're going to assist them with getting a website. And if you're a nonprofit and you do not have a website, I have a video up right now that shows you how you could potentially get a free website built for you in 48 hours. So check out that video as well. They want additional information about the nonprofit. What I like about this application is these little question marks. It lets you know exactly what they're looking for. So with the mission, their mission statement, history, how long has the organization been serving the community? Their constituencies. Which members of the community does the nonprofit client serve? Children's, adults, teens, right? So let's say we're serving children, and our mission is to make sure that all children are reading at their grade level or higher, meaning that if you're in the third grade, you're reading at a third grade level and not a second grade level. If you're in high school, you're reading at a high school level or a college level, nothing below whatever grade you're in, you're reading at that level or above. Your project description, your title, which mine was, Money Time in Collaboration with Your Time Incorporated. What problem are you trying to solve? Again, definitely look at these question marks, because if you submit an incorrect answer or an answer that is not aligned with what they're looking for, that's your fault. And I'm pretty sure they will not give you this grant, because they're essentially holding your hand and saying, look, this is what we want, write it this way. And guess what? We're going to give you a little gems throughout to make sure that at a minimum, your application is aligned with what we want. So here we go. Does this project support the general mission of the nonprofit or a specific program or initiative? So think about that. Nonprofits, they have various sectors sometimes. So like I said, ours is probably going to be a specific program or initiative, because it's the education of children and making sure that they are reading at grade level or above. But that nonprofit probably does other things in the community that's not connected to just children and education. So think about that. Do you want to do the entire nonprofit, or do you want to pick a sector of that nonprofit? Project description. Describe the overall vision of your project, the intended impact, what will happen because of your project, and how your project will be implemented and distributed. So now they want to know the steps. So if we're saying that all children, and then we could pick a school. So I'm from St. Louis, so I don't know everybody's school. But if I say, all children at Soldan High School is reading at whatever their grade level is, that's being more specific. The impact, the intended impact is, let's say 80% are ready for college. The impact would be 95% are now going to be ready for college because they're all reading at that grade level. But there's other things, that you need aside from being able to read at your grade level. And how will it be implemented? So then you have to think about, okay, what are the steps that we're going to take? So for my example, are we going to have tutors before school, after school, and in the classroom? Are we going to have an additional class for those students that are not currently reading at their grade level, and we're going to have a tutor for them, right? So maybe that will be part of their schedule, where if you have 5 classes, one of your 5 will be this, reading at grade level, whatever it is, however it will be titled, right? And then how it would be distributed for that doesn't apply. More of implementation is going to apply. Project elements. What physical elements will be included in this project? What will you make? Now, project elements is not me saying we're going to hand out books. Project elements is, what are we going to create? Is it going to be a video that shows the success rate? So if it's a video, maybe we have, interviews with the students before they started the program, and then have them talking about the impact of the program towards the end or throughout the video. And then we're able to eventually follow them to college. And I want to add, and I didn't go through this in the FAQ, however, you can apply for this grant multiple times. So let's say this is the project that we selected, and now we want to reach out to those children that are currently in college. You can apply for a grant to then do another video to see how are they doing in college because of what you produce. And then any other physical elements, whether it's, we're going to do a billboard to let people know this is what we're doing. We're going to have flyers to send out to parents to see if they're interested in having their child participate in this program. So it has to be something physical that's going to be included with this project. And then evaluating impact. How will you evaluate the effectiveness? Number of people served, change in behavior, etc. So for me, this is going to be a performance metrics or measures. If I'm saying we're going to go from 80% to 95%. So that's how I'm going to evaluate success, right? I'm going to evaluate it that somebody that wasn't reading at grade level, we've increased within that school 15% of those students. And then if we don't get to the 15%, that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't successful. However, if we get to 90%, that's going to show some impact because there has been an increase. Now, if we go under 80%, now we have a problem because what we're doing hasn't worked. All right. So now let's go to the next section, which is United States Sustainable Development Goals. So it has to fit in one of these categories. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, etc., etc., etc. You can read it once you see it. And I think education was in here. Oh, here, the next one, quality education. So that's something that's also in here as well. So we will be aligned with what they're asking because we're talking about getting students up to grade level or higher with their reading. So that's going to be a quality education for those individuals at that high school. The visuals. So they're looking for the visual presentation of your ideas that matter project idea. Okay, so you can't just tell them, oh, I want to increase the project that we're trying to market is increasing the reading level of students. No, they want the design to know that, again, as soon as they give you this money, you're able to do what it is that you're saying that you're going to do. And when I say do, meaning document it from a marketing lens. I don't want us to get lost in the fact that this is the particular initiative we're focusing on, but your role will be to market it. And you're going to market it, as I said, either flyers, websites, videos, billboards. In the FAQ, they said you can even get it and put it on a bus. So I know in St. Louis, we have Metro. So if you want to contact Metro and say, hey, how much is it to wrap the bus? You can use the $50,000 for that as well. So essentially, they just want to know, outline. They want to know your budget, your timeline of completion. And remember, timeline has to be within 6 months. Past work examples, self-explanatory. They want to know some of the things that you've done in the past, and it could be anybody from the team, but they want to see a collective of at least a minimum of 3 is what they would like to see. And if you're going to submit them a video of your work, they would like it to be hosted on either YouTube or Vimeo. I think that's how you pronounce that word, but it has to be hosted on one of those sites. You cannot link it into this file, it appears. The budget. As we've talked about before, it has to be completely itemized down to the penny. Now, what they did say, which I read in the application, is that you can give them a guess, but that number better be close to what it actually costs. So if you say it's going to cost $1,000 for marketing materials, i.e. flyers, and then you're submitting them invoices and it only totals $500, that's not going to be a good look, because that means, number one, you don't even know your market. Number two, you have not done what they at a minimum requested for you to do, which is to make sure you know how much this stuff is going to cost, get with your team and make sure the budget is right. And then furthermore, really sit down and plan this out. Here, they let you know for different components, things that you need to put in, the itemized elements, estimated time frame, estimated costs, subtitle costs for each separate component. Again, break everything down. And then with your budget summary, this is where they want you to summarize the overall project budget. So list each subtotal. So all of your subtotals from the previous one, you're going to put here. And then you can go back to the FAQ in order to get additional information about the budget if you're not clear based on this. Now, on their home screen, they did say they had a link to a sample budget. I clicked on the link, downloaded Dropbox for it not to be there. So that is not there at all. However, on their homepage, there is a link to sign up for a webinar. The webinar happened on December 9th. I didn't sign up for it to see if they'll send you a replay or what will happen, but I definitely recommend trying that, because the webinar is going to do exactly what I'm doing, and they're going to be able to give you even more details because they're the ones that's actually deciding who gets the money. So I highly recommend at least going to the homepage, which is Sappy. I think it's sappy.com, right? Yeah, sappy.com. And then making sure, and that's S as in sugar, A, double P as in Paul, I, and making sure that you attempt to look at the webinar, because even with the budget, they'll be able to break it down further than what I'm breaking it down. I'm just giving examples that's just jumping in my head, which is why I'm talking about, the flyers and the websites and the billboard and all of those things, understanding that they want it broke down to a T. Tax exempt status, they just want you to upload the IRS form, or in Canada, the form T3010. I am not familiar with Canadian law. However, if you are in Canada, you can apply for this as well. I do get many questions about, is this for US residents only? So this is an amazing opportunity if you are outside of the US and you are in Canada. The final document that they need is the nonprofit endorsement letter. Essentially, this is a nonprofit saying, yes, I want to work with this design firm and I agree to whatever it is that they're saying that they're going to do for the organization. Because what you don't want is somebody who loves a particular nonprofit begins to apply for this, has not had a conversation with the nonprofit, and you get $50,000. Well, you wouldn't get it anyways because you have to do an invoice. However, you get approved for this project, taken away from somebody else. And then the nonprofit says, I don't want to work with this person. We don't need any of these services. And I don't even know how they got our information. So this is just to confirm that the collaboration is going to happen and that both organizations, nonprofit, marketing firm, want to work on this. Okay. So again, application is pretty straightforward. It's due on January 14th. As I said before, if you're a nonprofit, find you a marketing firm you want to work with. And then if you're a marketing firm, find a nonprofit. So if you've gotten any value from the video, if you can go ahead and like it, if you can subscribe, if you can leave me a comment down below to let me know that it was helpful. And if you have any other questions about this particular grant, or if you want to see other grants, let me know. And with that, you all enjoy the rest of your evening. And I am going to go and get me some hot water, honey, tea, whatever, to get myself feeling better. See you all next time.